Wait, what? Let's roll that back and look from another perspective. What you just saw is one of the unlikely and borderline impossible things that can happen to you in Overwatch. Eliminating an enemy hero just as they respawn, when normally it is not possible to interact with the enemy heroes who are inside of a spawn. You cannot shoot, hook, sleep, or do anything to them. That is unless you do any of that just at the same time, frame perfect as they respawn when they have a brief moment where they are not invulnerable to anything. Meaning that it is theoretically possible to get a team wipe with the Diva Bomb just as the enemy team respawns, if you use it at exactly 3 seconds before the enemy team respawns. So you got me thinking, what other scenarios could theoretically happen in Overwatch but are so absurdly specific or complex that they are practically impossible to pull off? So, as we just saw, the enemy team is capable of killing you just as you respawn. However, did you know that the opposite can also happen? And no, I'm not talking about standing inside of a spawn while the enemy team is standing outside in the open waiting to be killed by you. No. I am talking about something a bit more niche and obscure that you may have never seen before. So, if your team is being spawn camped and the entirety of the enemy team is literally hugging the, spawn field thing, then you can practically insta-kill all of these heroes by switching to Mei and putting a wall just behind them, which will result in them getting pushed inside of your spawn where enemy players are not allowed to be in. So as a gameplay safety mechanism, the game just deals an incredible amount of damage to these intruders, essentially one-shotting all of them. This is not the only evil thing that Mei is capable of doing to the enemy team. You see, when it comes to certain deployables, they cannot be damage boosted whatsoever, either because that's how deployables are coded when they become their own independent entities, or because of balancing reasons. However, Mei's ultimate, which is technically also a deployable, is capable of receiving damage boosts. And if we look at how much damage it does, we'll see that it is only capable of dealing 20 damage per second, or just 85 damage overall. So, if we were to give Mei as many damage boosts as we possibly can, then it is theoretically possible to eliminate heroes in the game whose HP is low enough for this to even be remotely possible. I am obviously talking about squishy heroes who are at 250 HP and lower. But if we also add Zenyatta to our equation, then it is even possible to kill 300 HP heroes using this method. Oh hey, can I grab you all for a moment? Okay guys, listen up. Recently I've lost my job and now I have a lot of free time on my hands. And you know what I started doing? Yes, I started playing this cool game you may have heard about before. Raid Shadow Legends features a ton of content you might find interesting, things like PvP and PvE modes, and around 1,000 champions to choose from. And the newest global event, Web of Corruption, has also added a new legendary champion, Vallaryn the Equalizer, whom you can claim for free by logging in for 7 days during Vallaryn Chase event by July 31st. Keep logging in for another 7 days to also earn extra gear and upgrades for Vallaryn. Vallaryn is one of Telleria's most mysterious denizens, eternally seeking balance between the forces of light and darkness. He balances heals and damage, dishing out protective buffs for his allies and detrimental debuffs for his enemies. Also, as part of Web of Corruption event, take on Ray at the Morn in the limited time event dungeon to earn pinpoint gear and other valuable rewards. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code to claim 3 legendary champions and 1 free epic champion. Instantly unlock a huge starter pack with legendary Karato Foxhunter from the Shadowkin faction. Use one of these 6 promo codes to unlock an additional legendary champion. I'd go for this little guy because, oh my god, it's a freaking bunny with knives. But also, reach level 15 to get an amazing epic, Alure from the Demon Spawn faction. Support me and my channel by downloading and trying out Raid today. Now, let's get back to the video. Echo has a hidden mechanic that is nowhere to be listed on her hero information page. And that mechanic lies in her copy ultimate. You see, when you use this ultimate on the enemy hero, you not only copy their hero for around 15 seconds, but also prevent them from switching their heroes for 20 seconds. So that's cool and all, but how is it an impossible situation? Well, you see, in Season 2, Echo received an adjustment to her copy ultimate, which now allows you to copy either an enemy or even your own ally. So, in a quite improbable scenario, it is kind of possible to prevent a single player in the match from switching their hero for up to 40 seconds. The thing about Echo ultimate is that normally you cannot copy someone who is inside of a spawn. However, we can use the very same obscure game glitch from the beginning of a video. Or in other words, if you click your ultimate just as the player spawns, then you can indeed copy them within the spawn itself. So, if you get copied by the enemy Echo and then you die and decide you want to switch to a different hero, you'll have to wait in total of 20 seconds before you can switch your hero, as long as the enemy Echo doesn't die. But if your friendly Echo decides to copy you just as you spawn, the hero change option will remain locked and refreshed back to 20 seconds, forcing the player to wait up to 40 seconds to play a different hero. This is certainly one of the ways of combating counterpicking in Overwatch. And here's another weird mechanic that I want to show you. So, we all know about the environmental kills, where all you have to do is just boop somebody off the map. Whoops, wrong hero. Where all you have to do is just boop somebody off the map using conventional or sometimes even unconventional ways. But anyway, what you may not know is that you can actually receive a credit for an environmental kill long after sending a player off the map. Here's what I mean. If you spear the enemy Lucio off the map, then there's a good chance that this Lucio player will survive due to him having an ability to ride walls. So, as long as this Lucio player does not touch the walkable section of a map and instead remains within the environmental death zone, the enemy Orisa can still receive a credit for an environmental kill. So, in other words, it is possible to delay an environmental kill for as long as 10 seconds, which will make it the longest staggered environmental kill possible.
There is pride before the fall.
Now, let me show you something that will absolutely blow your mind, due to the sheer fact of how stupid it actually is. Meet Reinhardt, everyone's favorite tank hero in the game. He swings, he charges people off the map, but most importantly, he shatters people to their death. And what's funny enough is that there's an old trick you can do as Reinhardt, and that is getting stuck in some weird corner using your shatter and just gliding on one of the map props. This tech can be used as a surprise shatter on the enemy heroes because they don't hear the usual hammer down voice line. But this is not what I actually deem as an impossible situation. No. What I am talking about is the fact that while you're stuck here in a corner and gliding on a prop, your ultimate charge starts charging again, which, as you may have guessed by now, it is theoretically possible to charge a second shatter while still being in the middle of your first one. And you might say that this is 100% impossible because you'll just get kicked off the game from AFKing here. Well, that'd be correct, unless you found some spot where you can contest an objective, which then will prevent you from getting kicked for being AFK. Oh hey there, Kingsrow. Now, you Lucio players who know everything about your hero will probably tell me, hey, this is also possible with Lucio. And you will be wrong, because I also tried doing the very same thing and, well, let me just tell you, he doesn't get any ult charge while being stuck in this beat animation. As always, Blizzard, please fix. Thank you. But also, Reinhardt is not the only tank hero capable of using his ultimate twice. Let me introduce you to everyone's second favorite hero. One of the cool things about Domina and her ultimate is that it goes through the enemies and does not disappear unless it touches map geometry, gets eaten or deflected. Genji Deflect is the one we want to be looking at, because you can in fact deflect Domina's ultimate back to her, but what's also crazy is that there is a case where if you have two Genjis on the map, then you can in fact, as a Domina player, trap an enemy hero in your ultimate twice. By first obviously trapping a player, who then has to be fast enough to destroy that bubble, then the Genji on the enemy team has to deflect your ultimate back. Then deflect the ultimate to your own Genji, who then deflects it back, again transferring the ownership and then trapping the same player yet again. And obviously I don't have to mention what happens if we also introduce two Echoes who copy the Genji, making it possible to trap the same player up to 3 times. Whew! So far, these scenarios have been quite impossible, don't you think? Well, you know what is actually possible? Subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much. I was reading comments from the previous video I made about impossible situations in Overwatch, and this comment caught my attention. Normally, when you use the teleport ability as Kiriko, the Tracer's sticky bomb is automatically removed. However, if you get Zarya bubble...
Everybody stretch? Good.
As I was saying, if you get Zarya bubbled, the bubble persists with the teleport and all the abilities that are stuck on it as well. Which means that in a very unfortunate chain of events, you can accidentally sabotage your teammate by killing them with a pulse bomb as soon as you teleport to them. And this also works on other heroes like Reaper, Mizuki, Sombra, and even Tracer herself. Most of us know that Ashe's Coach Gun ability is used primarily for mobility and to knock back the enemy heroes away from you. But what you may have never seen, and I don't blame you because I've barely seen it myself, is that it is possible to kill an enemy with a Coach Gun. And obviously, if an enemy is only 1 HP, then pretty much any ability is capable of killing them. However, you may find it funny that up close this ability deals up to 90 damage. Which is kinda crazy if you ask me, but we can take it a few steps forward. And by that, I mean we can take the very same heroes who damage boosted Mei ultimate and apply all of them to Ashe. This now makes it possible to kill squishy heroes as long as Ashe is close to them.
That was quite the shot.
I am a big fan of maps, whether it be Overwatch, TF2 or any other map in video games. One of the things I like are environmental hazards. Shortly put, these hazards cause damage whenever you interact with them. And as of lately, you may have noticed that we've been getting more Overwatch maps with new and creative hazardous zones, such as this one on the Antarctic Peninsula, where if you get too high up, you get frozen. Or on this new map, Neon Junction, where hitting these beehives causes a small amount of damage. So obviously, I started to think what impossible situations could happen with these two, and it didn't take me long enough to figure out that two possible scenarios could happen. One of which is using these hazards to build an ultimate charge, all the way from 0 to 100%, but obviously only for support heroes. And soldier, I guess. Doing it this way essentially guarantees that no enemies will receive their ultimate charge by damaging your team. And obviously the other, also unlikely scenario is to kill an enemy with them. Yes, if you're having a 1v1 in this little honey shop on Neon Junction and you are missing all of your shots, you can in theory just shoot the bees who will assist you in killing an enemy hero. And there is one more map related scenario that you most likely never going to see happen in the game, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. On this channel, I've talked about ways of surviving Cassidy's Deadeye by using various deployables, such as sending Symmetra's turret directly at Cassidy just as he shoots his Deadeye, or any other deployables in the game. However, there is one other very niche and improbable way to deny the Deadeye. For this, we'll need to borrow our friend Lifeweaver and his life grip ability. You see, when you life grip somebody, they essentially become invulnerable for the duration of the grip, which means that if you grip somebody who for some reason decided to give head pats to Mini Diva while there's a huge nuke next to them, they will be able to survive the explosion. So basically, the life grip ability acts as a budget version of Zarya Bubble that has infinite HP until the effect of it ends. So in other words, it is possible to block the entirety of Cassidy's ultimate as long as all the bullets are absorbed by the bubble. And there's an even more slim chance of accidentally blocking a single Deadeye shot by gripping somebody from a side. As you might know, Jetpack Cat is able to transport allies to places they usually cannot reach themselves. And what's interesting is that if your friendly Echo decides to copy you, then for some funny reason, the game allows the Jetpack Cat to transport the copied Jetpack Cat, who in turn can also transport another player, making it possible to have two heroes being transported at the same time. But, to your surprise, it doesn't stop there. No. You see, if the third hero that is being transported is Mei, then you should know that Mei's ice block acts as its own temporary map geometry. Or in other words, you can stand or attach certain things on it, including Wrecking Ball's grapple. You see where this is going? Yes, so if you have the following composition, you can indeed have 3 players be transported at the same time. With Mei's Glacial Propulsion perk, you quickly spawn this little ice pillar on the floor, which propels you upwards, giving you free vertical mobility. But there's an extra hidden purpose for this ability that you may not have even thought about, and that is unlikely possibility of blocking Reinhardt's shadow. In case you don't know how Bastion's ultimate works, the rocket from his ultimate comes all the way from the sky. Duh. And most of Bastion players go for targets that are on the ground, but it is still quite possible to kill a flying hero as well, even though it is very impractical and you should be super lucky to hit a flying target with this ultimate. Now, let us quickly look at this Junkrat's perk, Mine Recycling. Eliminations with Concussion Mine restores 1 charge. So, if you were to eliminate every hero on the enemy team in a 6v6 game mode, then it will be possible to have an overall amount of 8 Concussion Mines. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Let me introduce you to an essential piece of the Overwatch maps that most people underestimate. Something that most of us like to destroy without even thinking of any possible benefits that this thing can bring to you and your team. Railings. Yeah, railings. Okay, don't turn off the video just yet, let me explain. One of the coolest things about these props is that they have their own physics, collisions and hitboxes. So anyway, if you punch these railings and they fly around you or go towards the enemy hero like Widowmaker, then in a very unlikely scenario, one of these props can save your life by tanking a headshot. So the next time you think about destroying these railings, know that they can one day save your life. If you think that I missed anything, then feel free to comment down below what you think are some of the most impossible things that can happen in Overwatch. Thank you to my YouTube members for supporting this channel, and thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you check out the link in the description. Thank you all for watching.